guys, hey everybody, I'm really excited for this one. Alright, so this is going to be the perfect estimate, and I swear to you, if you follow this process, you're going to close way more work than you're closing right now. And it's really important that we bring in the perfect estimate method before we start generating a ton of leads, because all of the leads that I want you guys to be generating, I really want you to make sure that you can really book them down, right? So, and if you think about it, it doesn't really make sense to, put a bunch of water into a really leaky funnel, right? So we want to close up the book, and if you think about it, it doesn't really make sense to, kind of before we start dumping a lot of water or gasoline or whatever you want to into that funnel, we don't want it to leak everywhere, right? So we want it to go exactly where it needs to go. And this is a huge hinge point that I see a lot of contractors doing wrong. So please pay close attention, take notes, and get ready to completely change the way you do estimates. All right. So for how to do an estimate so you can maximize your close rate, and just so you know, right, let's get through these slides here, right? This is just how to do an estimate so you can really just maximize your close rate there. And kind of a little bit more on this, on what I want you to know is that this isn't that is there. We're over on Zoom anyways. That's funny. Anyway, sorry, I don't really come on here and do these videos, but kind of getting out of my shell. So like I mentioned, this is not how to price your jobs. This is simply to set up your sales tactics and sales systems to maximize your success at closing. Now, before I get into how to do it, I'm going to show you how most contractors really do estimates. And if you do it a little bit differently than this, awesome. I mean, I'd love to hear how you do it if it is a little bit different. If it's better, it's a combination of kind of the perfect and the original way. But I mean, either way, let me know if it is any different than this. So to kind of get into it, most people, they get a lead and eventually call the homeowner and schedule when they're coming, and they pay no attention really to that setup call. And so I know a lot of contractors, or many contractors, will try to call that customer right away, and they know how valuable time to lead is, and they get that part, right? And I mean, absolutely they do. And you might as well, you might also as well, right? But the thing is, what's really neat is to jump on the lead as soon as you can get right to try to be the first one to get to the lead, which is great, right? But the important part is what is actually set on that call. And if you go through the previous modules, the lights out setup call, that is exactly how you're supposed to do that. This specific call, I have an example video as well. I have a script and the outline for that. So just kind of follow the process already. But anyway, this is how most people do that. Then when they're actually ready to schedule the estimate, they'll show up, usually close to on time. I don't know, give or take 15 or 20 minutes. And then they're gonna ask the customer to show them what they want to get renovated. And then they take measurements, pictures, or even just a mental picture of the job and tell the customer to go back to them with the pricing. And from there, they'll either call or email the customer pricing 6 to 24 hours later and hope that they hear back. And if you're really savvy, you're business oriented, you might have a follow-up system. Maybe you're plugged into some email follow-up systems with your software or something like that. But the problem with this method is that this gives you no control over the actual sales process with the customer, and you're just only really bidding on the price alone. And as a painting contractor, as a business owner, sales and marketing comes first, right? Yes, so you guys know how to do the renovations, but you have to set up the sales and marketing machine as well. This gives you very little opportunity to make yours and make yourself stand out. And you'll likely close, fewer than 30% of the jobs you've been on, right? So there's really no opportunity to do sales. There's nothing to make yourself different than just the prices that you're providing them. Now, I'm going to take you through what a perfect estimate that kind of looks like now that we kind of went through a little bit of how most people kind of do their estimates. So you might have to go back through this video a few times to really get the nuanced points. And I'm really going to include a worksheet as well to help you kind of understand the important parts of this estimate as you go through it. So let's kind of jump into it, right? So when the lead comes in, what you really want to do, like I mentioned again, lots of problems with this method, right? You'll close like less than like 30% of the jobs you bid on. But again, to kind of get into it, when the lead comes in, you're gonna call them within 5 minutes, all right? You're gonna follow the lights out setup call structure that we already gone over. So great, right? Then you call the customer in the morning of your estimate to confirm the time and the address and the decision makers. Then you need to show up exactly on time, and I'm talking to the minute, right? What I used to do is I would show up to the client's house. If I was even 5 minutes early, I would literally just wait in my truck until like 2 o'clock on the nose or 3:15 or exactly when I told the customer I was going to be there. And I would time my knock right when the clock changed. This might seem like a small thing, but to the extent in which control your time and you're able to really handle your time. And when you can show up when and where customers are going to extrapolate that to how well you can remodel. And even though it has nothing to do with it, right? Showing up on your time doesn't have anything to do with how well you can hold and really just maintain and do a renovation job, right? The level of attention and detail will transfer over. So this is a small thing, but it's really, really important that you're gonna start the estimate by actually just talking with the customer about their previous experiences with contractors and what they kind of expect here. So you're gonna be paying close attention to kind of what they're saying and what is important to them. You'll ask questions like, have you ever hired a contractor before? What was your experience like? Well, what's important to you when hiring a contractor? Have you ever had a bad experience with a contractor before? What's happened? What's what's kind of some of your experiences been with a contractor before? What happened with it? Is there anything unique about your job that we should know? Now, what you're really looking for here with these questions, and these are just some questions. I mean, I encourage you to kind of have that conversation with the client either in the entryway or just sitting down at their kitchen table and really get curious, like what will make a good experience for them? What will make a bad experience for them? And if you ask these questions with really true curiosity, the answers might surprise you. Like some customers' timelines is most important to them, right? So even like timeliness, things of that nature. So you may need to show up on time. Your remodelers show up on time and they just have a certain time, right? They work between this hour, and anything that might be important to the clients is communication, right? Maybe they felt in a previous contractor just kind of left them a little bit in the dark a lot of the time, or they had no idea when the contractor was going to come, or when they show up, when their guys were there, or kind of what stage were they at the job? How long was it going to take? So maybe having solid communication structure in place is what's really important to them. Maybe it's attention to detail, maybe it's the job, maybe it's the price. But whatever you end up finding during this initial questioning period, I want you to write down that's going to be the most super important part. Write it down on the clipboard in front of you and just make a note of it, right? This is going to be really important, and we'll come back to this a little bit. So next, you're after you finish this conversation, you're going to do what's called a walk around with the customer to learn exactly what they want renovated, right? This is probably the most important. This is probably the part that you're familiar with, that this is your kind of cup of tea area. You're going to ask detailed questions about their job as well, kind of more so on their, by doing walkthrough, you're going to ask the more important questions to them. It's really active that you use really important that you use active language and assumptive language, assuming that you already have the job. Explain how you're going to do things with emphasis on things that they just said that were important to them. So, I mean, here's an example. If the job site cleanliness is important to them, then as you're walking around with them, say something like, active language, right? We're gonna have to drop, cloths everywhere we're working and kind of sheets kind of everywhere. And so we kind of have a motion with our, and kind of use the motion with your hands, right? Kind of drop the cloth where the tarp or the drop cloth might go, where the tools will be cleaned. And also state that you'll clean the tools in your van on the driveway. We do all this to make sure that we keep the absolute cleanest job site. Kind of explain that to them, right? And there's never any risk for point spilling or splatter or anything like this. And so you want to use this future or kind of future pace them, right? So as long as the active language to point really at the picture that like you're already there, you're already doing the work and getting them comfortable about having you doing the job. And then once you collect enough information, you've done the full walk around, you thoroughly understand their needs, their job, and you've gone through everything. Now you're gonna go to your vehicle and tell the customer you'll be back in about 20 minutes, right? And then from there, kind of the next step from there is a little pro tip actually. Before going to, and actually I learned this from Zig Ziglar actually. I don't know if any of you actually know who Zig Ziglar is, but this is one of the things that he used to do. Before going out to your vehicle, just ask the customer if you can let yourself in once you're finished, right? And this idea is like the simple act of you opening their door without having to knock, subconsciously repositions you as a friend and instead of a contractor. So you can say something like, "Okay, Deborah, I'm gonna go to my car, write up your proposal. It should take about 20 minutes. Do you mind if I just come back in when I'm finished?" Right? And I mean, if you've already had a good conversation, you've been curious, you've been told about him, about your job and all the things, all this stuff, then they should have no reason to say no, right? And then when you do come back in, you just do a light knock and open the door and announce yourself. But the fact is that you're not just ringing the doorbell and waiting at the door like a stranger. You're actually coming in and announcing yourself like a friend. So there's a very powerful but subtle psychological shift that happens with the client. So once you're in your car, you determine the exact price, and I mean exact price down to the T, down to the dollar, the cent, right? If you create on an exact price rather than just saying it's going to be $30,000, right? An exact price leaves a lot less room for negotiation and shows the customer that you actually have a method in terms of coming up with the price. So kind of just fill out your proposal template. And I mean, I'll even include like my estimating format for our clients in the remodeling space. And I'll have a module later on around figuring out how to exact price and ways to estimate things like that. So you have your way and you've been renovating for a while. You know how to quote jobs too, right? So just make sure that you have an exact price and on your proposal, you're going to detail out how you're going to deal with the things that they determined are important to them and the things that might be important to them, right? Things that are like the attention to detail, the jobs like cleanliness, timeliness, date, the work is to be completed, right? I mean, pets as well, literally anything they said earlier that's important to them. You're going to write it down and explain how you will deal with those things. And what you're going to do here is actually just take a picture of your proposal before you give it back to your customer, right? And as you do that, because you're going to be giving your customer the actual proposal you're writing up, you're going to need a copy as well. So the way to do that really easily is simply to just take a picture of it, give them a copy for your records, and I'll include a template you can use for this write up section. So once you filled out, you're going to go back to the customer's home and sit with them at the kitchen table, discuss the details like I said, and kind of knock lightly, open the door, announce yourself just like a friend would, and like the friend would when they're coming in. And because you've already asked for permission, you should have no issues there, right? And then during the conversation, you'll have most of the proposal covered with a piece of paper and just show them kind of one line at a time as you go. They don't need to read ahead. And you really want to just fully explain the reasoning behind each section and shift that back and relate it back to the things that you found out from the very start when they were telling you what was important to them. If, like I mentioned, cleanliness was important to them, then every single time you talk about a different line, you're gonna be talking about the job site cleanliness or the job site, really just the cleanliness about it, right? And it might sound a little bit repetitive to you, but to them it's gonna sound like music. You're gonna read out everything that you've written and repeat it multiple times, and the things which they indicated were important to them during the initial conversation, and then when you get to the price, again, announcing the price and presenting the price is really important part of the whole estimate process, right? And the sale. So listen to this part carefully, right? As we got through all this, right? So when you get to the price, you show them the price and say, we're able to complete your entire project as well as everything we listed here for only $16,394.62, if that's your particular case, right? Do you feel that's a fair price for the work that we're going to be doing for you, right? And then just kind of stop. And do you feel, that's a really a fair price for the work that we're going to be doing for you? And then just stop, really. And then you just wait. You don't break the silence, right? And they're gonna, hopefully say yes. That does sound like a fair price. And then only once they say yes, it agrees a fair price, then ask for the job. Great. Well, how can we schedule you in for X date, right? Okay, great. We're scheduling you in for X date now to reserve your spot, and we just need a 15% deposit, and that could only amount to 2459, $2,459.19, which we'll subtract from the total. Now, do you want to do e-transfer, or how would you rather pay that, by check or a little bit simpler of like an assumptive close? So this is the amount, this is the 15%. How would you like to handle that, right? And you can just say e-transfer, credit card, or checking, right? You can list out these options. You can just say, how would you like to handle that? And just stop and let them figure it out. Of course, that's their problem. They need to figure that out. So now what we're gonna do is jump into a few common objections now, right? So in what I want to really think about is, now, in my experience, this is really more of a non-objection kind of thing. And what you really need to do here is find the true root of what they're actually objecting to. So first thing you want to do is validate, right? So, I mean, okay, I understand now. What is it that you need time to think about? You can keep asking a few other questions. Are you comfortable with us handling the work for you? Is it that you're not sure if you want us to get the work done? You're not really sure you want us to do it. So you're really just digging into why, right? What do you really have to think about, right? Are you, and when I say that, I mean, should I, do you really even want us to do that, right? Do you want us to even get the job done? That's more of what we're wanting to spend, and then kind of like, we also have a cheat sheet that goes over a little bit more about this too, or a little bit more of the objection handling, but just more so just asking questions to what they're really kind of objecting to. And next up would be kind of the good old price objection, right? And I'm sure you've gone this one before. My favorite response to this one is, oh, so do you think it's too expensive? Now, what this is saying is, it just too expensive? This is basically saying, did I just not show you that I'm gonna earn every single penny that I mentioned in this whole quote? Like, if they say yes to it's too expensive, that means that you are dealing with truly a cheap customer. And I mean, you probably should just leave because it's just kind of like a wasted cause, right? But what you'll likely get is if you say, "Do you think if it's too expensive?" is they'll kind of double back and they'll see what you're saying and they'll say, "No, no, no, no. It's not that it's too expensive. It's just that, that's more than we're hoping to spend, right?" So if it is that, then you can really either justify it or you can reduce. So justifying is something like, what you have a significant amount of work that we're gonna do, and we want to do it exactly right. And if you want your entire project done exactly right, this is gonna be the price, right? But if you can let me know what your budget is, what we can do is figure out how much work we can complete within your budget, and then maybe we can schedule the remaining work for down the road. How does that sound, right? And every time you do a kind of an offer, some sort of, every time you do kind of just make an offer, you always finish it with, "How does that sound," right? Just asking for, what they think about it. At least that's been my best practice. So another objection, right, is we're getting three quotes. Now, if you don't mind me asking, what are you looking for in another contractor that I haven't provided or that I haven't demonstrated? And then and just saying that, and then if they say nothing, "We're really happy with your quote. We just want another quote." Okay, well, then let's see what they're really looking for, right? Like if you're satisfied with everything, right? All their objections and everything they need, and the price is fair, and that they should not necessarily need two other quotes, right? So we can just dig a little bit deep. So I totally get it. You can just say, "Let me just ask here. Do you feel that this is a fair price for the amount of work we're going to be doing?" Yes. Excuse me, pardon me. Great. Do you trust that we'll perform and deliver you a quality job, right? Yes, great. Then you can ask one more question. Other than you wanting to get three coats, is there anything that you can think of that would make you not want to go with us right now? And then if they say no, then great. We can book you in then, right? You can't just take, we're getting three quotes at face value and just say, "Okay, you definitely have to push this, and this is how you do it. Just follow the questioning sequence." And I mean, you're not gonna get through it every single time. There's some people that are really stubborn, as I'm sure you know, but a lot of the time, if you want to make the logical case here, they trust you, they like the price, they want you to do it and get booked in, right? Now, the exact
Okay,
kind
I
of,
found this on the web for the.
sorry, there. Series coming on. But anyways, like I mentioned, the logistical thing here is that they trust you, right? They like the price, they want you to do it. So then you just be like, just let's get booked in, right? Now, the next one here, is it's a tough one, and I'm sure you've gotten this one before. First of all, right, this should not have been an issue if you follow the lights out setup call process. And there we do have a demo call to listen to for how to make sure that both decision makers are there. And if you do get it, it is a very difficult one to overcome, and you don't want to push too hard. But here's one tactic that you need to be quite gentle with, but it could really kind of go a long way if you do it this way, especially if you have someone who you want to kind of appeal to their ego, right? You kind of definitely use this tactic. So someone gives you a wife objection, for example. Okay, I completely understand now. If it was up to you, would you hire us today? And then hopefully, like, yes, they would say yes, right? Because otherwise, I mean, otherwise, there's a different objection, right? Okay, great. So, are you wanting to ask your spouse as more of like a sign off on yes? Is this what we're doing? Or do you feel like you need to get permission? Or do you feel like you really need to get permission, right? Like I said, this is a tough tactic. It can work, but if 5% of the time it might backfire on you if you don't deliver it tactically enough. So, is this something that you really want to do when you just need to get a sign off, or do you need to get permission? Cool. Now, the last one I'm taking you through right now, okay, is we're not sure when we want the renovations done, okay? Well, now the first thing to do here is to figure out what the real objection is. So you can kind of confirm that this one has been brought into you, right? I totally understand. Now, timing aside, do you want us to complete the work for you? And then you get a yes, and then you say something like, okay, granted, you can, this is kind of something, to make the most sense for you. This is something that we can kind of do. What we can do is just take a 15% deposit and we can lock you in at this price. And as soon as well, when you're really wanting to get this done, we can schedule it in right now. And we're scheduling like 6, 7 weeks out right now. So you'll need to decide on this fairly soon. How does that sound? Great. Okay, perfect. And then, oh, actually, sorry, sorry, last one here. Yeah, so we don't know what style we want. Yeah, right. This is a pretty simple one, and this is kind of creating a little bit of urgency. Picking a style can be the hardest part, but if you commit today, I guarantee that you'll use that as a fire under your butt to pick a style sooner. And we'll even go to the back to the store and just pick up some samples for you, bring them here, and kind of show them what it look to you on the wall. How's that sound? And then, like I said before, how would you handle that deposit? Now, like I said before, how would you like to handle that deposit? So those are common objections. That is the perfect estimate process, right? And I promise you that if you follow that process, you hit each one of those steps and you have a great conversation. You get the needs, you do a great walk around, you use active language, you write up the quote in your car, you bring it out, you present it the right way, you ask for the job, you bring in those needs into the estimate and you handle objections properly, you are going to be booking so much work per estimate than you are right now. So, let me know if you have any other questions about the proper implementation of the perfect estimate. And from there, I really hope to see you guys crushing it inside of here and really just getting a more of a feel of something like this. And you know, um, all the 6 resources here include the ebook, lights out setup call, perfect estimate cheat sheet, perfect estimate worksheet. Got everything all on the site here. And if you are a little bit more interested in working with us, then that's something that we can definitely look into. I really urge you guys to really go through everything and really squeeze each of the value that we have in all of these resources. These are the same resources that I have uh, a lot of people coming to me telling me, wow, I just closed 4 extra jobs just from your resources alone. So if you think our resources are good, you should go through our Google Doc. It lays out exactly what we offer with my company, Avism, which stands for Avoid Static Marketing. But like I mentioned again before, I don't care about signing you as a client. I already have 36 paying clients in the kitchen and bath remodeling industry. And they're all with us for the main reason is because we know how to deliver our jobs, which is 2 to 10 jobs per month, guaranteed. And that's something that we stand by and something that we have continued to do so over throughout the course of our time. So, yeah, as always, let me know if you have any questions about the proper implementation of the perfect estimate. I hope you found some value from this and I appreciate you. Thank you for your time.